I'm about to cut my beard off to quit touching my face.
You're gonna have to cut your hands off.
Hey, that is a better idea.
That is a terrible, stupid idea.
What the fuck is up? And the mics are hot, the stream is live. I don't want a 9 to 5, but this YouTube shit's in a downward spiral. Hey, don't worry, we're never going viral. Stream like nobody's watching. I got news for you, brother. Fucking nobody's watching. Oh, you said you wanted viewers? Then just already got them. Oh, you said you wanted streamers? Mixer already bought them. And if you hate them, you swat them. But if you don't get killed by cops, beat by bots, or even male and female thoughts, you might just fuck around and land on top. That is, maybe, if you work harder than bro ops.
Ian, just let me know when you're done with your 9x9.
Okay, I'm almost.
3x3. Jesus Christ.
Are we not doing 9x9?
No, for the second time.
Chase, you know math is not my strong suit.
Would be what, 27?
I gotta pull up some more porn
No,
games.
9x9 would be 81.
Oh, yeah, I'm stupid. Yeah, I was doing 9 times 3. Yeah, 9. Oh, yeah, fuck. Yeah, let's do our top 81, guys. Top 100 donkey.
Number 80, Afro Samurai. I love how, like, as far as the editing is concerned, the podcast has started. Like, this will be in there in some way, shape, or form.
Sup, hoes?
Let me lay some facts on you real quick, all right? So, if you wear contacts, that's just a subscription service to use something you already own.
It's just a subscription service to put coronavirus in your eyes.
Exactly. So stop wearing contacts.
If you buy condoms,
you have coronavirus.
All right, let me just open this episode up by saying, if you are one of the actual human beings who stopped buying Corona beer because you were worried you were going to get coronavirus, why don't you go ahead and unsubscribe and step off a fucking bridge, man? Like, I don't.
You're just dumb enough to subscribe to us.
That's true. Go ahead and hit that bell icon.
If you can find it. Jesus. All right, welcome back to the Club F Radio.wave podcast. Where we're joined
Scott,
for this.
Wait, Scott, pay attention, son. I know you're there. Yeah, I miss you.
How sweet. You know, he texted me the other day. I may have already told you this.
Text me?
Well, he texted
Maybe
me.
I don't miss him.
For those of you who don't know, Scott is an IRL friend of ours that we haven't seen in a while. He's also our podcast's biggest fan. He like messages me every time we do a podcast to just be like, man, I miss you guys. And the other day he texted me and he was like, all right, so forewarning, I've been smoking a little bit. So forgive me if anything I say is stupid, but you should make movies. And then he was just really sweet for the rest of it. I really appreciate you, Scott. We all appreciate you here.
Love you and congratulations.
Yeah, for real.
Get corona.
Scott, I'm
Don't get
gonna
corona.
have to make sure that I'm not spreading too much of your business, but I don't feel like you're the kind of person that gives a shit. So our friend Scott's got his second baby on the way, and he's really excited about it.
Well, he's pissed. He's just unsubscribed from the podcast.
All right, so now that we've had just the weirdest fucking opening that's been all over the goddamn place, Chase, why don't you explain what we're doing today?
Okay, so I know a lot of people in our Discord actually really hate on 4chan because, you know, there's a lot of assholes there. I get it.
There's a lot to hate.
There's a lot to hate. There's a lot to like too, to be honest. But on V, which is their video games board, they like to randomly have these threads called 3x3 threads. And what you do is you take usually your top 9 games and you put it into that Big Huge Labs mosaic creator thing, and you have a little grid of your favorite games, and you post that picture, and then everyone rates each other's. So like the first number, I guess it'd be easier to go by the second number. You write it almost like a fraction. So like the second number is how many of those games you've played, and the first number is how many of those that you've played that you enjoy. So the maximum you could get is obviously 9 out of 9.
And that's like 100% synchronization right there. Like you and I, friend, we are
like
of one mind.
Just getting the animus, Gordon.
Too many inside jokes today. Too many inside references today. No one has any idea what they're listening to right now. But he's right. And what's funny is this is an idea that Chase suggested a couple of times. I didn't realize how well it was going to go over in our Discord, because I feel like I've learned a lot about the tastes of different people and where we are alike and where we're different. Like I was just explaining to my wife just a few minutes ago, I was just like, I've never really realized it like this, but looking at Chase's score versus my score, I love almost all the things Chase likes, and Chase hates about half of the things I love. And I just thought that was really funny. So the way I kind of figured that we're going to do this is the three of us have built a 3x3, and I kind of figured that we would go over ours, kind of do some discussion about what games we like and don't like and how they kind of bridge each other in the Venn diagram of our interests. And then we can also bring into the conversation some of the stuff that you guys talked about in the Discord when posting yours. And I feel like Chase should be the one to get started because it was his idea.
Oh, me, where to start? Because they're not in any particular order. So my first one up here is Phantasy Star Online Episode 1 and 2. It was basically my first MMO in a sense. You could only have teams of 4.
3 or 4.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 4. And you go through missions and you fight bosses. It's just your standard fucking MMO with teams. It's almost like Destiny. Like you can go to cities and you can see everyone else, but you can only have so many on your like fire team. You go to
so it's like an instanced MMO, kind of like the way Guild Wars 1 was.
Yes, very much like Guild Wars 1. But I fucking loved that game. Like, holy shit did I love that game. Like, it was incredible at the time. I can't remember how old I was, but I played it on the original Xbox. So, like, it's been a hot minute since I've played it, or since it was, relevant. But really, really loved that game. It's all the levels were the same, unfortunately. It wasn't, like, randomly generated back then. But I don't think it was. Maybe some rooms were. Fuck, I don't know. Like I said, it's been a long time. But I love the loot aspect of it. Like, there are tons and tons of weapons in it. It's like, I guess any MMO as far as equipment goes. You can get different swords, armors, everything. There's classes. Just if you want to know more about it, go check it out. Otherwise, I'll talk about it forever.
I remember one of the first times anyway that I visited your house, you showed me that game and you had it, and you talked about how it was originally on Dreamcast and it got ported to Xbox. I remember I tried making a character, but I think because of the nature of the game, I had made like a single player character. And I think that was like literally the first time you experienced the fact that me making a character takes longer than me playing the game.
Absolutely. Absolutely true.
I mean, I think that's accurate for a lot of people.
Yeah. But my second one here is Grandia 2. Probably my favorite standard like JRPG of all time. I fucking love Grandia 2. This is one of the ones that I was talking about, which I don't know if you're going to include that part where this is absolutely in my top 3 games of all time.
Right.
Like I love Grandia 2. I don't even want to talk too much about it, just in case somebody wants to play it. That way that I don't ruin anything. But you play as Ryudo, which is the guy you can see in my picture there if you're looking at it. He's the main character. He's what they call a geohound. He's basically a mercenary. He works for money. He'll cash. He'll do whatever. He winds up going on this crazy ass adventure to find out that God and Satan fought a long time ago, and not exactly who you thought won, and not who the whole world thought won. But I'm not gonna say which. But my third one here, Banjo-Kazooie. Now, this is the one that I thought to myself, I could probably swap this out with several other games. Like, I really like Banjo-Kazooie, but like I could have easily put Ocarina of Time here. I could have put Super Mario Sunshine.
And the more that I think of it, I am actually a little bit surprised that Ocarina of Time doesn't have a slot here. But if I were to weigh the two of them for you, I wouldn't be surprised at all that you went Banjo for what you put in the pit spot there.
Yeah. I love Banjo-Kazooie. It's my favorite platformer of all time. It's really, really great game. I don't think it has aged badly, so I feel like you could go play Banjo pretty well these days. So go check it out if you can. Then we come to StarCraft. Oh my God, I played this game a lot. I used to come home from school because I played this in like, I don't know, 8th grade, 9th grade, something like that. But anyway, I'd come home from school 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I would play it literally till I went to bed. It's like all I fucking did. Like I was pretty damn good at the game. Me and my friend John, we used to play it online. We played it all the fucking time. I love StarCraft. It's one of my favorite universes out there. I love all the lore, all the characters. It's a great series. We're probably not going to get any more from it. 2 was was pretty let's end this in a storytelling line.
You know, it's interesting that StarCraft was one of your favorite games whenever we first met, because that was kind of a bridge between my my best friend and where I used to live versus moving to where I met you guys. That I didn't own any of these games, but he had Warcraft 2, and I liked screwing around on Warcraft 2 a lot. And then I moved and met you guys, and I didn't own StarCraft at the time, but you were like, well, let's play it. You should buy it, and we should play it. And we played it with me playing on a laptop in your bedroom with you on your desktop, and we hadn't set up the LAN correctly, and I racked up like hundreds of dollars of 56K like dial-up connection fees against your dad by mistake. I don't know if you remember that. Yeah, because we hadn't directly connected our systems, because for some reason, like, we tried it once and it just didn't work. And so I was like, well, I'll just hook it up to your phone line. Here I am. And we just didn't even really think about it.
Yeah, I remember that. I'm sure Dad does. But anyway, my next one is Ogre Battle 64. This is probably my favorite game of all time. It'd be hard to rank it against Bloodborne, which is my second favorite game of all time. But Ogre Battle is a fantastic 64 game. I don't even know what to really call it without looking it up. I guess it'd fall under a tactics game, even though it's kind of not.
It's a tactics RPG. You know, I don't remember, because I don't know as much about it as you do, of course. But the style of tactics RPG it is reminds me a lot of like Final Fantasy Tactics, and that it's a smaller isometric level style. Am I right in saying that?
No.
Okay.
It's almost like an RTS RPG, if that makes any sense. Like, you control your units on a map, and you take over towns and shit, and then you can get. I think what you're getting confused is
the actual in battle system.
Yeah, the in battle system, like up in the two corners, it shows your character standing on what look like blocks, but it's just to let you know which rows they're standing on. You have 3 different rows. So I don't know, maybe throw up a GIF or a video of what a battle looks like versus a map if you really feel like it. Okay. But yeah, it's kind of an army tactics game, RPG thrown in the mix. I don't know any other way to describe it, but I absolutely love that game. It is fantastic. Everyone should play it if they like tactics and RPs.
All right. I've went ahead and pulled up some reference images, and yeah, I see what you're talking about. And what's funny is that when I look up Ogre Battle, Google's still trying to give me screenshots of Tactics Ogre, and Tactics Ogre is the one
Tactics Ogre is like, yes, yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I played that one too. It's also good.
So you're telling me Tactics Ogre is like Final Fantasy Tactics? That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. It might even be made by the same person. I don't know. Next we have Bloodborne, my very first Souls game, which made all the other ones like babies. Because Bloodborne was very fucking hard when I first played it. Made it all the way through it, and I was like, hell yeah, I'm digging this Souls shit. Let's play Dark Souls 2. And I whooped the shit out of that game, and I was like, what the fuck was this?
This is an interesting one because, like, I feel like this is where the three of us can connect a little bit on this. The first Souls game I played was also Bloodborne at Ian's house, and Ian had recently gotten it, and I was like, well, I'll go.
My first Souls game.
And I rather disliked it, and I don't think you had. Yeah, I don't think you had fully made your judgment on it yet. And then when I went to Dark Souls 3 later, I kind of had high hopes for it because I had heard people say that, you know, how people complain about stuff being too casual, but that to me means more accessible. And so I was just like, okay, well, I might like Dark Souls 3, and I really, really did. So that gave me kind of the courage I needed, I guess, to go back to Bloodborne. And I am being honest when I say this. You saying it's your second favorite game of all time is really like answering some questions for me because like I think we all, even when we try not to, get a little defensive whenever somebody dislikes a game that you hold so highly. And so like I think that's why sometimes it's really hard for us to connect on this game in particular. But one thing that we were talking about when we were talking about it, you know, this game in particular brought up a lot of discussion in the Discord. And I think that even the people who like and dislike the game, I can wholeheartedly agree that the world building and the lore of this game is fascinating.
Yeah, see, that's kind of what I was about to say too. Was I love the aesthetic and the lore and everything to Bloodborne. I could just never really get into the game itself, and that's honestly kind of similar to the Dark Souls games as a whole. It was like most of them, I love the aesthetic and everything. I just can't really get into the games themselves.
I think the one thing that Dark Souls 3 does to hold my hand a little bit from Bloodborne is just a rechargeable healing item, because I think when it comes to a difficult game, like a Souls game, I think that a person who has to try a lot of times versus a person who doesn't have to try a lot of times, those two people should still be able to enjoy the game at the same level. Like, I'm kind of used to dying a lot in video games because I'm just not as natively skilled, I guess, and I'm nearly learning disabled when it comes to improving my skill in video games, so I'll often just make the same mistakes over and over again. But ultimately, I can usually fall back on, if I put enough time into it, I'm gonna get through it. Bloodborne hurts players like me because you have to really like farm those healing items. Like, if you're dying a lot, the game really tells you to go home. And I'm not wrong. Like, it really, like, that's what caused me so much stress when we were playing it. It was that I had to devote extra time, which I already had very little of at the time, to just farming blood vial. And it didn't make me in particular as satisfied. But had I played the game completely single player, my experience probably would have been different. And you talked a little bit about that when in your little discourse about it.
Yeah, I fully stand by that game needs to be played single player first and then multiplayer with your friends or you know, whoever you want to group up with. The AI of the bosses completely fucking breaks when you have 3 people. Like, if you'll go watch our YouTube video of Bloodborne, our playthrough, you'll just watch me and William just absolutely decimate every boss when they do almost nothing. Like, they don't even know who to like aim, turn at, nothing. Like, we just beat the shit out of them. Now, a couple of them we die in, but it's just because of doing something stupid, and then, you know, they get a lucky hit in. But like, they are absolutely dumb when it comes to 3 people. Like, you can tell that multiplayer was an afterthought in this game.
Yeah.
And they just don't know how to act, and they just get absolutely destroyed.
Can I just quickly say shameless plug? Continue going.
Sure.
Welcome to Bro Op, where we're advertising other Bro Op videos.
Yeah. But now, real quick, before we move on from Bloodborne, I do agree with Jesse on that. I do think that like the blood vial system was fine for me. I made it just fine. You can buy them relatively cheap with your blood echoes, but I do think that game would probably benefit from having an Estus flask instead of just injecting blood into you. It didn't really make a whole lot of sense, I guess, but whatever. That on top of if you wanted to go like a gun build in that game, fucking forget it, because the ammunition system they have in that game is awful. Like, it needs an overhaul bad if they ever make a second one. All right, let's move on. I think we all at least somewhat enjoy Monster Hunter World.
Yeah.
I fucking love Monster Hunter World. Like, me and Jesse waited a million years for them to have one that didn't look like shit. Like, we were sick of them being on a fucking Nintendo system that looked like, you know, pixelated, damn it, and with loading zones that were garbage. And then they finally announced this one coming to PS4, and we about had a heart attack because it looked fantastic.
Yeah, I gush about this quite a bit in our review video, and if you want a real deep dive into our attitudes on that, that's always an option. But I think the long and short version, I've gone back and watched that video a couple times now, and the long and short version of my argument on that is Monster Hunter World feels like the series finally grew up, because they were getting by with like what felt like the bare minimum of effort. Well past the PlayStation 2 era, the game still felt like a PlayStation 2 game. While this game added some things that I think purists didn't like, it was great for me. I didn't put it on my 3x3 because like it occasionally gives me that same Bloodborne vibe of I don't feel motivated to get any better at it and to continue, but I still adore it and I'm enjoying that slog.
Right. Ian, how you feel about Monster Hunter World? I feel like this is the first one you can really talk about.
For it.
I'm for it.
Nah, it is a fantastic game, because I actually have never been a big fan of Monster Hunter up until Monster Hunter World. I've tried playing some of the ones on DS and Wii and all that bullshit, and I could just never get into them. But this one was a game that, like, as soon as I like booted it up, I was hooked, like, from the get go. Like, it's a game that I can to this day go back and play. I mean, I know it's not old, but I mean, like, it's a game that I could still easily play and sink hours into in one sitting, So
there's so much good in that game to work towards. Like I know we've argued about this probably before, but like even games that we really liked back playing like WoW and like Final Fantasy 14, sometimes it's hard to find a goal. Sometimes it's hard to find something to work towards.
Yeah.
You'll just wind up sitting in a city for 20 minutes and then logging off or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, if you start playing Monster Hunter, you're just like, you know what? I'm gonna farm. I can't even Nergigante. I'm gonna farm Nergigante today and get his armor set. And then in 8 hours, you've got 3 more armor sets because you played too long.
Yeah.
Because you just can't fucking stop. It's a fantastic game.
I really thought you were gonna say, and you know, in just under 8 hours, you'll finally have One Piece. Like,
No, it's not that bad.
it's not. It really isn't. That's just my experience with Velcana.
Yeah, well. But before we move on from this real quick, I want to throw out some info on Monster Hunter World just to show how much they dug this game series out of the ditch it was kind of getting in. This game's 2 years old now at this point. It came out in 2018, and it is already the second best-selling Capcom game of all time. The only thing beating it is Street Fighter 2, and that's been out for like 20 or 30 years.
Damn.
It's sold 12.4 million copies.
And if you want to raise that number, we sell it in our store.
That's true.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, yep. We only sell the PC version, which is ironic because that's not the version we play. But you know, if we had the PS4 version to sell, we would.
Yeah, the closest thing to it after that is Resident Evil 5, oddly enough, at 12.34 million. Anyway, let's move on. Let's get into this convoluted shit. Kingdom Hearts.
I think it's delightful that you have Kingdom Hearts on here now, and if you haven't heard Chase's Kingdom Hearts story, I'll let him tell it. But I nearly didn't even count it as one of my likes. Like, I didn't. It's not in my 3x3. But when I rated yours, I nearly didn't even count.
Yeah. Birth by Sleep is probably my favorite in the series. If I just had a gun to my head and had to pick one, I love Birth by Sleep.
What a weird situation.
Yeah, I know. Hey, you never know
What's your favorite Kingdom Hearts? I'll fucking do it, man.
It's hard to pick between Birth by Sleep and 2 Final Mix for me. Basically,
it's really strange because I don't have a single Kingdom Hearts game on my list, but I will probably say Kingdom Hearts is like my second favorite video game franchise, which is also weird because I don't have a game for my first favorite video game franchise either on my list. This was last minute, anyways. But
you got time to edit that bad boy.
But all I was gonna say was it's weird because like Birth by Sleep is probably one of my favorite games of all time as well. But I just think over time and stuff, like it's still my favorite Kingdom Hearts game by far. But I just think over time and stuff, it hasn't aged super well. Like I don't know.
Well,
but
also the problem with trying to go back and play it is blatantly obvious it was a PSP game.
yeah, absolutely.
Like the controls and things are just like this was a mobile, not mobile, but this was a handheld game.
Yeah.
But fucking love Kingdom Hearts. I used to not. When 1 first came out, I've told this story before a million times. When 1 came out, I thought it was the gayest shit in the world. I was like, you get your Disney out of my Final Fantasy. I don't like it. and then 2 came along, and I watched Jesse play it, and it was the first time I'd ever gotten to see Cloud Strife not have block hands, and I was just like, all right, I see it. Yeah. So I had to go play 1 so I could play 2. 1 is still my second least favorite, maybe third. I don't know.
The biggest issue with 1, I will say, is going back and playing it after playing any game that came after it because of how fucking slow it is.
It is very slow, and like, bless that little cinnamon roll's head, but Sora is a fucking moron. Like,
I mean, that doesn't really change.
you're right. You definitely right. But like, 1 is far more Disney than it is like an action RPG, if that makes any sense. Like, I couldn't get into it. I didn't grow up on Disney. I still don't particularly like Disney. Can't help. No, it will never change.
What's funny is I'm just sitting here, and this may not translate well as an audible joke, but you know that meme from Walk Hard that's just like, oh, you don't want in here, we're doing cocaine or something like that, and he's like, I believe I do want some of that. That was Chase when he came over to hang out and I was playing Kingdom Hearts 2. because he was just looking at it going, you know, I know you told me it had Final Fantasy characters in it, but it's almost like I didn't believe you. Like, I'm just looking at it, I'm just going, well, that doesn't look gay at all.
Yeah, and if you've played 1 and 2 and you haven't played 3 yet, they do away with all Final Fantasy, so don't expect much.
Hey. They're in the credits of the DLC.
Oh my gosh, excuse the fuck out of me. God, That's a whole nother monster to get into, but that pissed me off. Anyway, let's move on. My last game is Halo Reach. Is by far my favorite memories of a shooter that I played with my friends of all time. I will say Halo 5's multiplayer is leaps and bounds better than Reach, but I have the fondest memories of playing Reach on the 360. Just every night, all night.
You want to know?
It's gonna be really interesting because I feel like all three of us have something similar going here.
Yeah.
But Halo as a series, as a total, as a whole, is one of the like franchises that I can just remember the most from. Like I remember having like amazing moments with friends coming over. Like me and William, for example, he would just come over to my house like every night. We would get a bunch of chunky Chips Ahoy cookies and milk, and we would just play Halo until our dicks fell off. It was great.
And then you had to sew them back on.
I think a lot of people like you could play Super Mario Brothers 10 multiplayer back in the day, but no one really considers that their first multiplayer game. I think for a lot of people in our age range, Halo introduced people to multiplayer, like whether it was online or LAN or just couch co-op. Like Halo introduced a fuck ton of people to multiplayer.
Like there are a couple of memories that just immediately come to my mind when I think Halo. And this was your last game, wasn't it?
Yes.
We can kind of use this if we want to transition into my games.
Yeah,
Because
sure.
My first game's a Halo game.
Kick ass. Yeah, let's do it.
So I immediately have some memories that come to mind when I think Halo. But the game that I have to put on my list was actually Halo 3 and not Reach. Don't get me wrong, I think Reach is a better game as far as like story and stuff like that goes. But I just have so many memories from Halo. I just remember me and Rhett co-oping it one time, and we were fighting some flood, and he was like, we were like up on a platform above them, and Rhett was like, all right, I'm gonna go get him, and he jumped off, and as soon as he jumped off, I threw a plasma grenade on his back so that he landed in the middle of these flood, exploded, and it killed him, but he took like 8 flood with him, and he was like, I'm not even mad. But yeah, that's a good one. And then this is such a stupid one, but I remember I was playing multiplayer one time. It was me and Dino and a couple other people, and we were playing online, and somebody shot Dino and then ran away, and Dino goes, come back here, I'm gonna suck your dick. And I go, yeah, that'll show him. And for some reason that's been one of my favorite moments in video gaming history to me. Halo 3, I just have such vivid memories of just playing it with my friends and having a good time. And that's why it's number one on my list, is because it's by no means the best game on this list, but it's the game that I have the most loving memories from.
Oh yeah, and I get that.
Hell yeah.
So, I mean, that's why I have Reach.
I've got so much I can add, but I'm pretty sure I have Halo Reach on mine as well. So yeah, I'll just save it. I'll just save it when I'm talking about it.
But yeah, so Halo franchise, it's amazing. Next one, there's a couple on here that I know Chase is gonna hate on, but
yeah, I've already rolled my eyes into the back of my head for this. Y'all just have fun with this one. I ain't got nothing to say about it.
Next one is Star Fox 64.
And when he says he's got nothing to say about it, it's him trying to be nice.
I have always been a huge Star Fox fan. I always call it destiny that I'm a big Star Fox fan, because the first Star Fox game came out the day before my birth. So I consider it like I have grown up with that franchise essentially. But 64 in particular is easily my favorite. It is Jesse knows, and I'm sure Chase has seen me do it before at some points too. I can quote literally every word to the game.
Yeah.
From start to finish. I know every secret route and every enemy. Hell, when last I checked, I was 5 minutes off of the world record in speedrunning it. But now it's been a little while. But I'm just saying, I know 5 minutes is kind of a big gap in speedrunning time, but that's not too bad. But
now I will say this real quick. I do like watching Ian play Star Fox. That
Yeah.
I can handle.
I
But
thoroughly
like an
enjoy watching
on-rail
Ian play it.
shooter is just not for me. Like
Yeah.
I just do not like playing it. Like I don't think I would like. Is it Panzer Dragoon? That's very similar.
Panzer Dragoon is also an on-rail shooter, the one where
Yeah,
you're riding
see-
dragons and shooting lasers.
Yeah,
and shit.
like I fucking love dragons and lasers. I don't think I would enjoy that either because I just don't do the whole on rails.
Yeah.
No, I get that. I always have been a fan of on-rail shooters. In fact, like this is something a lot of people hate on, but like Star Wars: The Old Republic, the MMO, they're like space missions in that game are on-rail shooters, and I fucking love them. I'm like, it just reminds me of Star Fox. Like,
Yeah.
but no, I just it's one of the first games I remember as a kid ever getting. We growing up, the first video game system I remember having was the Nintendo 64. Now we had a Super Nintendo and a regular Nintendo, but I was just a little too young. But I remember having a Nintendo 64, and then I actually got a PlayStation 1, and then me and Rhett traded because he convinced me to. Fuck him. But at the same time, I didn't feel cheated, and to be honest, I really don't feel cheated today because Nintendo 64 is probably arguably my favorite video game console of all time, and most of that is attributed to Star Fox 64. I just have
That's one of mine as well.
I can just play that game. I can play that guy. It's in my Nintendo 64 right now. I can see it. Like I've played it recently. But
and likewise, two of my favorite like gaming with Ian memories, two of them are Star Fox. And
I know one of them. I think I know both of them. Go ahead.
Well, why don't you tell me what both of them are then?
I think one of them was us finding out that you could U-turn against Andros in Star Fox Zero.
I don't know why I actually started to tear up just hearing you remind me. It breaks my heart so much that we don't have that VOD anymore because that was before we were saving them. But I drove up to where Ian was living at the time, and because Star Fox had just come out on the Wii U, and we didn't really know anything about this one. And don't get me wrong, we were both still kind of disappointed with it when we realized what kind of game it was. But there was a lot to love there, and there was in the original Star Fox 64. There's like a decent ending, and then there's like a true ending. And so we were really this game had just come out, and we were really sitting there and trying to like theory craft this fucking game because there only appeared to be one actual ending to it. And the last you see Andros, you're fleeing from him and you kind of leave your dad behind. And I was just sitting there going, you can U-turn here. I know you can U-turn here. And Ian was like, I just don't know if you're right. And we beat the game all the way through again, and it's quite a bit longer than regular Star Fox 64. Similar story, like a retelling of it.
Essentially a reboot.
And he got there, and if I could find the video, I'll put it in there right now.
You have to make it back to your friends, Fox.
He turned around.
I can't do anything about it though.
Can you U-turn?
No.
No, I did it! You did it! I did it! Saving my dad, fuck it! Oh!
We just flip out. We're just like, he did it! He did the U-turn! And it was basically for nothing. Like it was for one.
It was such a wasted thing because it was really cool that you could, but all it does is give you extra points, and it doesn't actually change the story. You don't save your dad or anything like that. It's literally the same exact ending. You just get extra points for doing it.
Yeah.
But it was Star Fox Zero was interesting because I feel like if they had just allowed you to use a regular controller, it would be as good as Star Fox 64.
I absolutely agree. Wholeheartedly.
That is such a stupid thing to have to say.
And I think that game merits a re-release on the Switch because I
agree.
There's so many different ways they could approach it. I like that control scheme as a gimmick. Essentially, if you've never played it, you used the tablet to aim from a cockpit perspective, and there was also a co-op mechanic that you could do that way. But I feel like on the Switch you could just gyroscope aim if you wanted to, and if you don't want to, just don't. Just play the game like normal.
Controls,
yeah.
But the second moment, can I guess on it?
You know what it is.
Slippy shooting down a member of Star Wars.
Fuck him, dude. Oh my god. So Ian was I'm trying to challenge my high score. He's like, I'm not really speedrunning it. I'm just trying to challenge my high score by shooting down as many enemies as possible. And I was like, okay. And I was really enjoying watching him do this. I was really getting into. I would watch you stream it if you did that. But he was so close to having beaten his high score 64, and we were making fun of Slippy the entire time because if you've never played Star Fox, Slippy is a worthless piece of dog shit. He always needs help. He never does anything of any use. And Ian was like, all right, I've just got to kill like one more enemy. I've literally just got to kill like one more enemy. And you just hear Slippy go, I got one!
And there went 51 fucking points because Slippy shot down one.
It was during the Star Wolf fight, and they're all so individually valuable.
Oh, that was annoying, man. Oh. Real quick, go ahead.
That story sounds so much like a SpongeBob episode. Where Slippy is just Patrick or something, or maybe even SpongeBob. But I don't know.
It really felt like it, man.
Yeah, it's like perfect SpongeBob material right there.
But yeah, it was stressful to say the least. But I'm gonna move on. I just got one more thing I wanted to say about Star Fox 64. One of my other favorite memories of the game, real quick, was me going over. It was whenever I had just made a bunch of new friends in like the anime convention scene, and I went over to one of their houses for like a New Year's get together, and the person had a Nintendo 64 and had Star Fox 64, and I was drinking and I was bragging about how good of a fucking Star Fox player I was. They're like, oh, you can't be that good. Eventually I boot up that game. And they, to this day, one of my friends, Ryan, will just randomly be like, hey man, you remember that time you got fucking wasted at Ben's house and just fucking wrecked Star Fox 64? And I was like, oh yeah, I remember.
I feel like just hearing those things from people who love you is just like the fucking chef's kiss of life, man. Just,
it really is. Yeah.
Just like, hey, you remember that time? Oh yeah, I think about it every day.
Whenever I'm going to work on myself, that's what I'm thinking about. But all right, but we can transition on. Just Star Fox 64, great game, as far as I'm concerned. But the next one, Jesse told me I couldn't do this, but I'm doing it anyways. It's actually two different games, but
fuck you. I'm kicking you out.
But one in particular, I do have. I think I do prefer, but it's the Pokemon series in general. But I have Heart Gold as my choice. But I will say it's probably a toss up between Heart Gold and Ultra Sun. Both games were great in my mind, but one of them I feel like Heart Gold is better in my mind from a more nostalgic point of view. In fact, I remember the first time I ever beat Heart Gold. Gold version had been my favorite up until that point, and it was the one I remember the most of. Like, I still remember how to do like the cloning glitch in Gold. But when our Heart Gold game came out, I was really excited, and it was very nostalgic. But the moment that really like set into stone how nostalgic that game was I remember after I beat it for the first time, you can go back to Kanto and talk to Professor Oak, and he'll give you one of the original starters from Red, Blue, and Yellow. And whenever you get the starter, he says something along the lines of, all right, now that you got this starter, you can go into tall grass, and then he'll kind of trail off and be like, wait a minute, you already know all this. And I was teared up, and I was just like, I do already know all this. Like, I don't know why, but that moment has always stood out to me about Heart Gold. Like, the whole game's super nostalgic, and it is a really, really, really good game. Really, like, one of the best remakes I think I've ever played. But it is a fantastic game. But then Ultra Sun, I know not everyone agrees, but Ultra Sun I feel like is a better game just in gameplay and overall story, but doesn't have as much nostalgia value behind it. And that's why I kind of had to put them both kind of neck to neck. But Heart Gold does have my nod on this list. So,
well, if we can take an aside, this is something that came up a little bit in discussion of like what the actual rules of this are. Like, is this your favorite games of all time, or is this your most influential games of all time? And I don't really care what the answer is, because what's more important to me is that it makes you start thinking about shit like that. Like, because it makes you go, well, do I want to go back and play this game right now? No. But does that game still deserve an honor for making me the person I am? Yes. So, I feel like different people did it different ways, but I completely wholeheartedly get it.
Yeah. See, I mean, but going by that, I actually just got done replaying through Ultra Sun, and I would absolutely replay through Heart Gold right now if I had a copy.
I am so mad at myself for trading mine in, because that's like the hardest one to get your hands on now. And that was the first time I decided I'm making my dream team. Like the first time that I've ever was like, you know what? I never really traded as a kid, but now I'm an adult, and at the time I'm pretty sure I was like unemployed and nearly homeless. So it was just like, I've got time. So
yeah, sounds like me.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I did so much in Heart Gold and ended up having to sell it. I remember selling it for like $70.
Yeah.
But because I needed the money, but now I regret it like wholeheartedly. Like I even just told I told Courtney the other day, my birthday's coming up in like a little over a month, and I told her, I was like, something that you could get me that I would absolutely love, but it is kind of expensive, a in-box copy of Heart Gold. And she's like, yeah, I can do that. So maybe, I might have the game again soon. But yeah, I loved both games. Chase, let's hear your opinions.
I very, very nearly put a Pokemon game in my list. And actually, something I forgot to say about mine real quick was another one that I could have swapped off for another series was Kingdom Hearts. That could easily be swapped out for Final Fantasy VII for me. And potentially one of my others could have been swapped out for also Heart Gold or Soul Silver. I really, really enjoyed those remakes, and I really enjoyed Gold and Silver back when they came out originally. I think every kid in the world beat the Elite Four and then went, what? When they said, all right, now go do it again. Back in red and blue.
No Pokemon game has beat that for me yet. Like, I'm still so surprised they haven't bothered.
The closest thing they've gotten to, in my opinion, to that was Black and White 2, where they had the World Championship at the end of the game, where like gym leaders and champions and Elite Four members from every region could come and be a part of it. But that's still not quite there. It was cool, but it wasn't quite Kanto cool.
Yeah. And like Jesse just said, I don't think they'll ever top it. Like, they couldn't just do it again and have the same effect, because back then it was just like, oh my god, because we were all kids too. So like that just added to it. So absolutely.
You know what I would pay for as DLC that a lot of people would probably think it'd be a cash grab? If they would just find a way to just recreate like the map of the original game as a wild area. Like, it doesn't even have to have shit in it, just like a wild area that I can walk through and catch Pokemon, and that's it. Like, there's not even fucking people. I would pay that. I would buy it.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think the only way they ever surpass it is by finally making the Pokemon game people have asked for years that has like every region in it. I think that's like the only way they ever beat the Johto Kanto mix.
Yeah. Make it like Elder Scrolls Online style, where it's just all of them.
Almost, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It'd be crazy. I honestly think this is kind of changing subjects very slightly, and I'm just for a second, but I honestly think they could make a really fucking good Pokemon MMO if they really tried to.
I still want to play Temtem. I've heard that even though it's out, it's not really done. So.
Yeah, I think they could use honestly, they could make it very similar to like the way the wild area works in Sword and Shield. Just not necessarily make it a full-fledged MMO, but make it where it's a full game where you can like run into other people every now and then and stuff, and just make it like every fucking region, like make it a huge ass game. Like,
yeah.
But
I think the entire next game will be like the wild areas of
God. I hope so. I liked that a lot.
Yeah, I've said this before in other podcasts and videos, but like it is so badly obvious that Sword and Shield was a 3DS game that got ported last second that I really hope they kill the next one. Like I really hope they nail it, but I don't.
They just kill the Pokemon
franchise. They pull a fucking Advance Wars and make it like hyper gritty, and then like nobody ever buys one again.
Well, they kind of started to do that with Black and White and X and Y, but we'll move on to my number 4 choice. Number 4, also kind of the same thing as number 3. I went with Breath of the Wild, but it could also easily be, depending on my mood, it could also easily be Majora's Mask. Both those two Zelda games mean a lot to me. Breath of the Wild means a lot to me just because I know how good the second one could be because of how good the first one was, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
the first one was so good that I think the next one's gonna like blow my dick off. Like,
and I'll tell you that this game in particular brought up a lot of conversation in Discord that even though I don't think I was as blown away by it as you were, I do want to go back and replay it now. Like, I've just fucking made up my mind. I really want to go back and play it.
The thing that really set into stone how really big that game actually is was I've watched whenever I'm bored, I'll just randomly watch YouTube videos and I'll get into like a random mood where I'm like, I'm just gonna watch Zelda videos, and I've watched a fuck ton of like Zelda theories and things of like things you may have missed in Breath of the Wild and stuff. Like, I've watched a fuck ton of those videos, but that still didn't stop me from jumping on Breath of the Wild a few months ago, replaying it a little bit and finding shit that I had no idea about. Like, I knew, for example, I knew the dragons that like you can find flying through the air. I knew that was a thing, like that you can like shoot and like a scale will fall off of them and you can use those scales for different stuff. I knew that was a thing, and I had ran into 2 of them, but I did not know about the third one. Like, I knew there was a third one, but I thought he was the same as the other 2. But then randomly I was like, hey, there's a mountain over there I've never climbed. We're gonna climb that shit. And as soon as I get to the top, the third dragon's up there and he's like corrupted by malice. Like, he's got this black gunk all over him and he's just like, fucking help. And I'm like, oh shit, okay.
Oh shit, I was just on a hike.
Yeah, like, I had no idea. I thought the third one was just like the other 2. I thought he was just flying around randomly. I had no idea that it was like a mini boss where you had to like, because you have to he starts flying away and you have to follow him like with the glider and like fall and like shoot the malice off of him. It was fucking fun, and I had no idea it was a thing. But yeah, like, that's just the thing about Breath of the Wild is there's so much in that game that's like hidden or you don't know about, that every time I've ever booted the game up, I find something new, and that's so cool to me. Like, it's a very, very neat feature. All right, so yeah, pretty much just I was trying to get to is that I don't think there's ever been a time that I've started Breath of the Wild and not found something new, and that's the main thing that I respect about that game. Now, there are some things that I have some small issues with Breath of the Wild, but that's why I'm so excited for the next, is because it's small things that I'm like, I know they're gonna fix these things in the next game. So yeah, but also Majora's Mask was amazing too. It's actually another reason I'm really excited about Breath of the Wild 2, is because they say it's supposed to be the darkest Zelda game since Majora's Mask, and bro, that's got me hype. Like,
Yeah, I hope it's good, but like, I'm gonna hold off on getting it. I want some reviews to be like, hey, there's even slight bit of challenge in this game,
Yeah.
or hey, there's some real content here.
Well, speaking of you talking about it being darker, like, my favorite Zelda is actually Twilight Princess, and I didn't realize that a lot of people disliked that one until I was watching the Game Grumps playthrough, and Aaron was like, yeah, this one's pretty much just like widely understood to be the worst one. And I was like, what?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not gonna go that far.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not gonna go that far.
but there is a cutscene in that one that's really fucking dark. the like really weird, like, creepy explanation of like the mythical origins of things, where it's got all like the like dead-eyed zombie links like running.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm down to see more of that.
No. Twilight Princess is definitely one of the darkest Zelda games, and that's one of the things I liked about it. But I do dislike Twilight Princess more than I probably like it. I mean, it was an okay game, but it's one of my, I think it's just one of the weaker ones. But I'm also someone who says like his least favorite Zelda game was Wind Waker, and a lot of people give me a lot of shit for that. So
I think people just go looking for different things in their Zelda games. Like,
yeah,
I think that from our boomer perspective, from me and Chase being like, well, Breath of the Wild's really like lacking for us. I think there's a tremendous number of like newcomers to the series who are young, who played Breath of the Wild and had more of an experience of yours. They were just like, holy shit, I can climb that mountain. So like,
it's just so confusing to me that people have that mindset that Breath of the Wild is empty, who love Wind Waker, and I'm just like, dude, Wind Waker is a bunch of
empty
nothing.
as hell. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It really is.
But I think the main takeaway we can take from this is that Zelda is an amazing series, and everyone usually likes at least one Zelda game. So I mean, come on. What can you do?
My favorite's definitely Zelda 2.
Mine's definitely CDI, Faces of Evil. Yeah.
Link's crossbow training was lit.
Number 5, I have Final Fantasy 14, but in particular, I actually have Final Fantasy 14 Heaven's Ward.
Oh boy,
The
That's
MMO,
what I'm about.
the MMO as a whole is fantastic. I personally believe it is the best MMO I've ever played. They just do so many things right in Final Fantasy 14 that I'm like, okay, no, I'm on board. But Heaven's Ward as an expansion is the it is the most fun I've ever had with an expansion of an MMO since Wrath of the Lich King, and that's saying a lot because Wrath was good.
Yeah.
But
I 100% agree. Like I said, Fanstar was one of my favorite MMOs. I could play it forever, but holy shit, Heaven's Ward was the bomb.com, dude.
If I were to get back into an MMO, it would be this one.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
I actually really dislike a Realm Reborn story. It was the most slog bullshit I've ever played through. But then you get to
Yeah.
Heaven's Ward, and it's just like, oh no, they blew their whole load in this. They'll never top this, but it's so good.
now I will say, Shadowbringer's first couple of patches, like opening and first couple of patches, I believe have been as good as Heaven's Ward's first few patches. Now, whether or not it ends with the same pizzazz that Heaven's Ward has, we'll see. But I do think Shadowbringers is almost just as good. But Heaven's Ward, man, like first off, y'all need to learn some things about me. Dragoons are my favorite like class in all of Final Fantasy, and it's the fucking cover class of Heaven's Ward. So I was like, all right, cool. Second thing, like in a fantasy setting, give me a frozen kingdom, like a snow mountain kingdom, and that's like my aesthetic in a fantasy setting. Oh, isn't that the main fucking place we're at in Heaven's Ward? So they already had all the pieces for it to rev my engines, but then they're like, we'll also throw in a fucking storyline that slaps, boy. So it was fucking good.
Yeah, and like Ian said, there are very few things that MMO does wrong.
Yeah.
Like I can only even think of one off the top of my head right now.
Yeah, that's probably the storyline requirements.
Yeah, that's the only thing I wish they would pull directly from World of Warcraft is if I'm level high enough, I can just go into the new content. No, I don't have to buy your stupid potion just to gouge me for more money.
Yeah, because I am one of the people that paid for the boost and the storyline skip separate because I was just like, I just want to play this game with my friends, and I'm so fucking tired of the core content. I paid for it, I bought it, and then I wound up not playing with them anyway. So
yeah. See, I think boosts are fine because that should get you to the content. You shouldn't have to buy both. But whatever.
But that is another thing, and another reason why I see why they have the boosts compared to like a game like WoW, even though WoW does have them too. But Final Fantasy 14, you can be every class, whereas WoW, you make a character and you pick a particular class. Mm-hmm. So it makes sense that you can be like, well, I mean, I've leveled this character all the way to 80 on Paladin, but I'd kind of like to play a Dragoon too, so fuck it, I'll just buy it.
Yeah, just that's the cool thing about 14 is you don't have to make a new fucking character.
Yeah.
Just swap your class and play it. You don't have to. Yeah. Well, you technically have to start over, but not in the same sense. Like, man, I swear, if the 14 devs could take all the lore of World of Warcraft and rebuild that game from the ground up, it'd be the best MMO of all time.
Yeah. I can see it. I'm with you. But yeah, 14 slaps. But okay, so that's going to move me on to my number 6. Whenever I was making the list, I was just like, no, there has to be a Star Wars game on this. I don't know what Star Wars game, but there has to be wait a minute. Shadows of the fucking Empire.
Yeah, that was a good call because I know you love that game.
I do love it. Was a Nintendo 64 game. It was the game starts out like if you're like picture me like 6-year-old Ian or probably younger than that actually sitting there in front of my Nintendo 64. I love Star Wars. At the time, actually, probably still to this day, Episode 5 is my favorite. Love the Battle of Hoth. Love that shit. That shit's so cool. And I'd be like, hey, I got this new Star Wars game. It's Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. Let's put that shit in, boot it up. fucking first level, Battle of Hoth, and you get to live it, man. Like Rogue Squadron games are cool, but like in this one, you are a named character who's flying around trying to help out the rebels escape from Hoth, and you're like, holy shit, this is so cool, because Luke will occasionally pop up and be like, no, we got to take down 3 more AT-ATs. And you're like, all right, cool. So it's just so cool. And then if that wasn't cool enough, then you beat that level, you fly in, you park in Echo Base, and then the next level is you got to escape for Echo Base. And I'm just like, holy shit, man, I'm actually getting to explore Echo Base. Like, it's the main base from Hoth, from that movie. And I'm just like, oh, this is so cool. And Dash Rendar is just the coolest fucking character in all of Star Wars. And I'm glad he's technically canon again. So.
Oh, is he? I actually don't know that I knew that.
First off, you can see his ship in the remakes of like in the new versions of Episode 4. So you can see the Outrider, but in the novelization of Solo, he is talked about. So
That's badass.
He is canon again.
Oh, so about that, I didn't even know that, man. That's
to
cool.
What level he's canon, like how many of his feats are going to be moved over. That's still up in the air, but he does exist in the new lore.
Awesome.
So but the game's just fucking fun. Like it's seriously like, now it did age a little rough because it is a Nintendo 64 game, and you have to like trying to aim in that game, because first off, there is no aim when you're just like running and gunning, because Dash is just shooting from his hip. But then you can like hold, like, I think it's R, and the analog stick stops you from moving, and it'll let you aim, and it's rough, but the game's fucking fun. Like, I just recently went back and we played most of it. I'm actually on the second to last level, and because I have the EA Origins Premiere and it's on there. It's the computer version, which is weird, having played the Nintendo 64 version. Nintendo 64 version, the cutscenes are like motion comics almost, because they're like a picture, like, and it will like zoom in on like who's talking, and then it'll like zoom in on the next person who's talking. So it's kind of like a motion comic almost. Whereas the actual PC version has cinematics, but God, are they awful. Like, they are, ooh, they're ugly. They look like they were made like, you remember us watching that Donkey video about the Dreams game? They look like they were making Dreams. Like, they look bad.
God.
Yeah, they look bad.
That's wrong.
But it's just a fun fucking game, and and it's one of those games. It pulls a old school Mario right there at the end too, because if you play the game on normal, you're trying to escape like an explosion, and then like you're flying out of like a space station while it's exploding, and it explodes right there at the end, and it's just like, oh, I can't believe Dash died, and then it pops up, and it's just like, to find out Dash's true fate, beat the game on hard. And you're like, oh, I gotta play through the whole game again. Bar none, probably my favorite Star Wars game. Number 7 is Fire Emblem Three Houses. I was, for like maybe like a minute, like 30 seconds, I was torn between it and Awakening, and then I was like, nah, Three Houses is the better game. I liked Awakening a lot, but man, I've had a lot of fucking fun with Three Houses, and I'm finishing up my 3rd story right now, and I have done the DLC. The DLC was good, short, but all 4 characters are really, really good, and they're good additions. It's just a fun strategy game, and I've had a lot of fun with it, and it's just been a really, really, really good game, and I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I haven't played a lot of Fire Emblem games. I tried Awakening back in the day, and I didn't really enjoy it. And then I played Fates, both routes, and really liked it. And then now, well, I didn't have the 3rd. But then I got Three Houses, and while I haven't beat it yet, it is a good game. Besides the technical difficulties you'll have with it, like the frame rate drops incredibly low in some places, and that's just a Nintendo thing. But
yeah, I will say though, like, it really is mostly in like the hub, like the church, like in actual battles and stuff. It's really not bad. But
actual missions is fine.
Yeah,
but
especially when you're actually trying to go to the cathedral, that's the worst area. Is when you're trying to go into the cathedral at the Garreg Monastery.
Actually, no, I think the worst area is where you can go there to do the multiplayer aspects, where you can like talk to other people.
Oh yeah. That's in the it's the same general area though. So I think that's why. Okay. I think that's why. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, if you talking content, that game's got it. Like there's a lot to it. Now, is it the first half that's pretty much the same for everybody?
Yeah, essentially the first like 10 missions are going to be the same no matter which route you pick, but there are 4 separate routes. So like the second half of the game, there's 4 different like ways you can go.
Yeah.
So
you can play that game for a very long time if you so choose. It's quite content packed.
Yeah, I think I wish I had my Switch in here with me. I think I'm at like 180 hours or something like that I've put into that game, if not more than that. I've put in a lot of hours. But it's really fun. Like I said, the DLC is really fun. The DLC is short, but it doesn't rely on any story progress you've already made. Like it actually just gives you 6 characters it's the same. It's 6 characters from each house, but they're not like leveled depending on like any of your story line progress. They're preset. So that's kind of cool that you can just literally pick up the DLC and just play it, without having to do anything else. But then once you beat it, you get all 4 of those characters to play in any of your new playthroughs, and they're really cool. So just overall, if you like tactics games, you like Fire Emblem Three Houses is an amazing game, and I'm excited to see what else they do with this franchise going forward from here.
Octopus Traveler.
That brings me to Octopus Traveler. I just realized I also have that in my my 8th slot.
Oh,
Octopath Traveler. A reoccurring thing you're going to see on this list, I've already said it with like 2 separate games, and I'm going to say it with the number 8 and the number 9 game, is that they're one of my favorite games of all time, and the sequel is going to be amazing. Octopath Traveler, I've really enjoyed. I beat all 8 of the characters' stories, and I'm like right at the secret boss. I just haven't gotten around to actually fighting it. But biggest complaint that I would say about the game is that all 8 people's stories, like there is some intertwining like in the background, but like these characters don't interact with each other really. Like there's a part, for example, there's a part where in one of the people's stories where someone drugs that character and is just like, oh, I'm betraying you. And I'm like, okay, but what are my 7 other comrades doing while I'm being drugged? That's always bothered me. But that's what I'm saying is like Octopath is such a good game that it's on it's in my top games, even with its faults. And I know they've got the mobile game and the second game that they've already announced. And I just know that these are going to be things they're going to address. And it makes me so excited for those sequels. So like I'm really excited to see the route they go, and it's the gameplay wise, it's one of the best RPGs I've ever played. The fighting's fun, it's fluid, and I love the way the like break system works. Like they have a thing where like if you hit somebody with an attack that's effective against them a certain amount of times, it will eventually break their guard and it'll stun them for a turn, and you can just pile on the damage. Like you have to you build your strategies around like, well, I'm gonna have this person break him, and then I'm gonna have this person do like his ultimate Omega move and do like 3 times damage. It's just the best. I love. It's probably some of the most fun I've had with a turn-based fighting system probably ever.
And it is in no way optional for some of the bosses. Like if you don't break them, you're not gonna win.
Oh yeah, they will slap you silly. Absolutely.
That game is fantastic.
Yeah, it is very very good. Jesse, I can't remember. Did you play Octopath at all?
What's funny is I remember I discovered it and shared it with Chase, and I don't remember if Chase had already seen it or not. I feel like he probably had, but I was just like, holy shit, this game looks incredible. Like everything about this seems like a love letter to like classic RPGs. And then I played the demo and I was like, I don't know if I like it. That's really all there was for me. But
another thing I will say, the overworld artwork, you talking about it being like a love letter to old RPGs, it reminds me of like Final Fantasy VI. Like it looks very like they definitely took like a stylized approach with it, and it looks old school, but like it looks good because it's a newer game, but it looks very but it still has like a classic old school look to it. And another thing I will say real quick, I'm going to actually look up this person's name.
It's also now.
Oh yes, it is. But Yasunori Nishiki is the composer to Octopath Traveler, and it was their first game ever composing, and holy fuck, did they blow it out of the water! The soundtrack to Octopath Traveler is like phenomenal. I have playlists on my Spotify that are just the soundtrack that I will listen to because it's that good.
Yeah,
so,
it is very good.
Yeah. So Octopath Traveler, it's a great game. That's why it gets number 8, Octopath. Anyway, so also, fun fact: the people's first letters of their names spell out Octopath. It's crazy, but
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, all 8 main characters, their names spell Octopath if you take the first letter out.
Oh,
You just take the first letter. But anyways, that brings me to my last game. Fantastic fucking game. It deserved every award it got. God of War 2018. Holy shit, that game was good. I was very torn about what game I wanted to put in this slot between it and Spider-Man PS4, but both were such good games, and I just had to give the nod to God of War, though, because that game was good, and I am 1 trophy away from platinuming it, but I just don't want to bring myself to do it. Like, it's...
Are you just gonna turn to dust when you do it?
Yeah, pretty much.
My work here is done. What else can I do with my life?
Pretty much. Now, the one achievement I have left in that game is to do the fucking... I can't remember what realm it is, but it's the, like, fog maze realm, and that fog maze was kind of annoying, and I just never wanted to bring myself to ever go back in there. But I beat all the Valkyries. They were hard, but I beat them, and from the music to the gameplay to just the story, like the way Kratos has changed from the original God of War games. Because I played I played 1 through 3, and I played Chains of Olympus, I believe.
PSP game, right?
Yeah, wasn't there 2 PSP games?
Yeah.
I know I played Chains of Olympus. I don't remember if I ever played. Was it Ghost of Sparta?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I don't think I ever played that one, but I played most of the previous ones, so I have an appreciation for Kratos as a character and everything like that. And I love the way they've changed him. Like, he's just like, man, I might have messed up in Greece. Like,
maybe just a bit.
I might have fucked everyone there. Like. But like the fact that he's just so against killing like any gods now, but by the end of the game he has to kind of force himself to kind of get over that. It's really, really cool, and his voice is amazing. It's just, boy.
Yeah, where me and Ian will slightly differ on that game. I really, really liked that game as well. I've played all the old games too, except for the PSP ones. I never played those. But like, I went into that game wanting to basically Doomslayer, rip and tear some gods, and you don't get to do that. So that was a little bit of a letdown for me. But the new like combat system in that game was really good. And once you get the Blades of Chaos again, oh man, it just changes everything. You can hot swap between them fast, and it's very, very good. And like he said, I think the next one we're gonna get that Doomslayer rip and tear shit going.
Yeah, no, see, that's again, I know I said this was gonna be a reoccurring thing in my list, but I do somewhat agree with Chase about how I do wish there were more like gods in this one, but I think in the next one, I mean, if the ending of this one's anything to go off of, we're gonna at least get Thor.
I don't think we're even gonna have a choice.
Yeah, like we in this shit, boys. But
yeah, step on it now.
But yeah, it's just a God of War 2018, fantastic game, and it's got me so hyped for the next, and I really need to go back and platinum it.
All right, well, last and definitely least are the games that I really enjoy.
It was good talking to you guys.
Get out, everybody.
Son of a bitch. I've really enjoyed this so far. And one thing that I often worry about with podcasts is, have we talked about this already? Or are we talking about it all over again? And I think this is the podcast where I realized I don't give a fuck. They should hear it again. This is kind of how this is
They
kind
might not
of.
have watched the other episode.
Well, here's the thing. Broing out with your friends, you retell a lot of stories, and sometimes you retell them because they're fucking good. Like sometimes I'm just like, hey, Ian, tell me that story. Or Ian will be like, have I told you this? And I'm like, yes, but I want to hear it again. So what we're going to do then is I'm going to go ahead and talk about my favorites, games that I fucking just... Let me restart my thought process here because my mouth babble has gone crazy. You think I might have some updates? Okay.
I want to preface your list real quick by saying there are a couple of games on this list that I never played and really need to.
All right, I know that people who are fans of Bro Up who have listened to me talk have not escaped hearing me talk about Shadow of the Colossus at least once. Shadow of the Colossus is my favorite game of all time for a lot of different reasons. It's one of my favorite games of all time for a lot of the same reasons that people enjoy Zelda Breath of the Wild, because it is a big, empty, enigmatic world that doesn't hold your hand. It doesn't really explain itself too much to you, and it kind of, the entire time you're playing, it makes you wonder what's really going on. And while there is a twist in the story, and it's not necessarily like a mind blower or anything, I think it earns the impact it has on you, because you're just like, I at least was so enamored with this like big, empty, dreary world. And it wasn't until several years after I beat the game that I realized that a big reason I love that game and its music is because the composer is a gentleman named Kao Otani, who's the same guy who composed the music for Gundam Wing and Outlaw Star, both of which are real big favorites of mine. So it just, all of it lines up together. This game's been remastered twice. I guess it's one port, one remaster, so it's available. And if you're listening to this in the month of March 2020, it is currently the free PlayStation Plus game, or one of them.
Oh shit.
Yes.
So this is the reason I prefaced never played Shadow of the Colossus. I have always wanted to play Shadow of the Colossus, but I never have. So yeah.
Yeah, you need to give it a shot. Essentially, mechanically, it is nothing but boss fights. And I remember at the time, it was one of those things where you'd see game criticism go, does that work? Is that going to work? And I think the big thing is that, like, it's not, I don't even really call them boss fights per se. You don't really fight like trash mobs or anything like that, but each fight with an individual Colossus is like this big climbing puzzle that just further drives home like the kind of dreariness of what's going on, because it doesn't play triumphant music when you win. It plays really sad music when you win, and it kind of further pushes your thought process of, what am I even doing? That accompanied with, God, I watched a whole documentary about the secrets of this game that I don't want to spoil for anybody. I might find a link and put it below, but people spent like 10 years trying to solve an Easter egg that wasn't actually in the game. So
like the damage chip?
What I'm specifically talking about is the points of enlightenment.
Okay.
So there was
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking. I've seen a video similar to what you're talking about.
Yeah, like essentially, people did what people do, and they kind of pulled a "if you move the truck, you find Mew" thing, where they convinced themselves that there were secrets in the game that were being hinted at that weren't actually there, as it turned out. And so when they remastered the game, they put all that shit in and had it to where you can actually open this previously unopenable door, and it just warms my fucking heart to see shit like that. I think that's one of my favorite things about video games now, is the stuff that isn't spelled out to you, that you don't find widely on the internet, that when you figure it out on your own, you're just like, oh, I'm Indiana Jones. Like, I'm amazing. I figured out something really cool. But yeah, Shadow of the Colossus, excellent game. If you don't play it, fuck it and fuck you. I don't care. I don't give a shit. I've never liked you.
Fuck it, fuck you. You chew big red gum.
Come down and buy a motorhome. Or don't. I don't care.
The next one on my list, Chase almost tried to talk me out of, because it's not a full game. It's PT, which is a playable teaser. It was meant to be a hype builder for a game that never came out, Silent Hill. I've talked about it plenty of times on podcasts and things like that. But I still feel like it's a game in and of its own right, because it was such an influential experience for horror as a genre in video games. And to beat the game fully, it takes like, I don't know, at least an hour and a half, if not closer to 3 hours. And that's about the same length as a lot of Oscar bait games that have come out since then. So I feel like it's a game.
I'm going to agree with you. I think it is exactly the game that Hideo Kojima wanted us to have. There's a big long video. It's like an hour and a half long video about a guy talking about how he believes PT was actually a kind of a final fuck you to Konami from Kojima. And watching that video and then putting all the pieces together about how they did take it down and shit like that, 100% agree. And that this is exactly, Kojima knew we weren't getting Silent Hills, and this is exactly the game he wanted us to have at that.
Oh wow!
I could see that being.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, like that makes a lot of sense, because while I did try to get him to replace it only because it's a demo, I do think it's good, and if the real game could have come out, it would have been amazing. But I can see the fuck you thing, because he made it so damn good knowing we'd never get it, so it would give Konami a bad name.
And like, you really need to watch the video. The video's long, and I'll I'll share it to you guys.
Yeah,
here
get
after
it to
the-
me.
after
I'll
this.
probably put it in the link
But-
to the a link to it in the description.
But like it goes into how like it talks about during the like while you're like traveling through there, you'll hear like the radio will come on and start talking about the murders and stuff like that. And like if you actually like use those dates and make them coincide with like events that happened between Konami and Kojima and stuff like that, it's like perfect. Like it's like, oh, he may have, you know, they murdered their boy. Like I can't remember exactly what they say, but like it's really cool, the parallels of like all of the messages and stuff like that you can hear and find in PT, paralleling it to the actual real life between Kojima and Konami and stuff like that. It also goes slightly into Ground Zeroes as well. That there's specifically the Deja Vu mission. It goes into a lot of that as well. But it's just really, really cool, and I think it is exactly the reason. But I got off on a tangent, but I think you can absolutely consider it a game because it was the final product in my mind.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah. We'll try to make sure that link's in the description. That sounds very fascinating.
Yeah, and while I did enjoy that demo, my experience with it got completely ruined because my game fucked up, and I can't remember the girl's name. What's her name? Do you guys remember?
You know, what's funny is I love that game, but I don't remember the antagonist ghost woman's name.
Yeah, we'll just say it's Anna. Anna in my game could not kill me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what happened, but anytime she would pop up, it would
Lisa.
just be like a Lisa, that's it. It would just be a jump scare for me. And it wasn't even that scary because after the first time, you know it's going to happen a lot. You're just like, all right, I get it. And I thought, I didn't know she was supposed to be able to kill me. I remember messaging Jesse afterwards and being like, this was cool, but that was kind of gay. And he was just like, whoa, no. Like,
Yeah.
she was supposed to game over you. And I was just like, oh, I don't know what the hell happened. Like, she'd pop up in my face and then she would literally just disappear. And I was just like, okay. And I just kept walking down the hallway.
I feel like that's one of the things that can happen, but it is still surprising that you never got a neck break because that was when the game kind of just went, yeah, sleep now. Like,
Yeah, she never killed me a single time, and I ran into her a lot. So, like, I don't know what happened.
But yeah, I won't linger on too because I've talked about it a lot. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. So for my number 3 slot, I put Mass Effect. I am very specifically referring to Mass Effect 1. Previously, when I ranked my favorite games, I just counted the Mass Effect series as a whole, and I kind of feel like that's cheating. But also, if I had to pick my favorite one, it is Mass Effect 1 because it seemed like 2 kind of diluted the mechanics. Mass Effect 1 had these different ammo types that you could implement that I enjoyed a lot, and then they kind of swapped that out for some other mechanics that I didn't enjoy as much. But it's hard for me to talk about Mass Effect without getting a little disappointed because this is one of those series that, you know, both the developer, the publisher, and just the state of the franchise as a whole is not where it once was. You know, even when Mass Effect 3 came out, which I still consider to be a part of the initial overall product, a lot of people were tremendously disappointed. Developers tried to defend it, and they were just like, you know, sometimes you don't always like the ending, but this is the ending. And then you had other people from the development team being like, no, we were under crunch and this was not the product we wanted to deliver. So like ultimately I feel like when we were growing up there were a whole lot of games that were promised to be the next big thing. There were games that were like, this is going to change video games forever. You know, Peter Molyneux was like, Fable is going to make you walk into the forest and disappear forever. Like, you know, like people were didn't he
plant an acorn and watch a tree grow in real time. Yeah.
hold somebody's hand in a video game. But like I feel like Mass Effect almost did, you know, like Mass Effect, the only reason 3 was so disappointing for us because we believed in, like, we really thought our choices were going to matter. I mean, you told us for 3 games they would. Like, we figured they would. And then of course Mass Effect 3 is just like a retread of, it really feels like they were like, hey, we forgot to make it possible for your choices to matter, so let's just have them make the same choices again in 3, and then let's give them like an option of 3 arbitrary endings that don't really have any bearing on anything.
I personally played 1 and 2, and I refused to believe they released any after those.
And I
See, that's another one on your list that I have never played any of. I have always wanted to play the Mass Effect games, just never got around to it. So
I really think that this is a series in deserving of a complete remaster.
I think it's going to be happening soon, too.
Yeah, because like I think they fully expected for the 4th Mass Effect game to be more successful than it was, and of course they did, but it was a crunchy mess that didn't really shine a candle to the original series. So what better way to cash in on that nostalgia than to just re-release the games we did like? And hell, while you're at it, you could do some more revisions to Mass Effect 3. Like, they already did patch the game, even though initially they refused to. They insisted that they wouldn't. And then they patched it and gave a little bit more closure about the ending. And it's like, okay, that's really what we needed. Like, originally when I was building this too, I realized I was kind of lacking in space. And space is basically my favorite of the sci-fi themes for fiction to head to. So
you like Men in Black?
what? Wait, what?
It's got space in it. I mean, come on, the aliens, you know. Do you like Men in Black?
I do like
Okay,
Men
good.
in Black. All right.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll tell you who doesn't like Men in Black though, and that's
Swing and a miss, Jesse.
I can never remember the actor who played Agent K.
Fuck.
Willie
Now
Nelson.
you know.
Willie Nelson.
It's
Nicky Larson.
fuck. What's his name? I'm blanking on it too.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee
That's
Jones.
it.
Yeah, I just, it's hard to watch the Men in Black movies now. Like, the first one's okay, but it's hard to watch like 2 and 3 because like I'm just uncomfortably aware the entire time that Tommy Lee Jones cannot stand that movie or Will Smith and just doesn't want to be there.
I mean, it's like the third movie. Like he's barely even in
It's
it because of
barely
that.
it's a fourth movie. They'll just fucking deep fake his face onto a stunt actor.
Well, it's like Harrison Ford in Star Wars, or
Yeah.
now John Boyega. He can hate Star Wars.
God, I don't blame him. People have been a dickhead to him and his cast. Like,
Yeah.
he tried really hard to defend other people, and it's just, I could talk on that forever. I think I'm going to talk about Earthbound instead.
All right, next podcast, Men in Black. Anyway,
The next podcast, the whole theme is Men in Black.
No, if we can't do Cat Dog, we can do Men in Black.
I've never
Oh,
said
I'm down for
no
Cat
to
Dog.
Cat Dog. God damn you guys. Welcome back
Jesse
to
don't
the
want to do
Cat
Cat
Dog
Dog. Chase you
podcast.
and I'll do Cat Dog.
All right, yeah, bet.
Will you two actually do this? Because we need an April Fool's topic. Will you two just podcast about Cat Dog for like an hour?
I could probably sing about Cat Dog for an hour.
One fine day with a wolf and a bird.
It was born in a caused a little stir.
Anyways, tell us about Earthbound, Jesse.
Oh my fucking god.
What's your favorite cat dog, Jesse?
Oh my god. What's my favorite cat dog? What? Earthbound. Earthbound is a fascinating franchise, and the more I learn about it, the more I'm just like intrigued by the entire concept. Mother 1 never came out in America. Mother 2 did, so they just gave it a different name because what the fuck if we had just gotten a Mother 2 out of nowhere? Named it Earthbound, and it's sort of like in the Final Fantasy vein of like each game is related in terms of the motifs and the mechanics, but they're not necessarily in a timeline with one another, with the exception of Mother 2 and Mother 3 have the same villain, so those are consecutive. But the complicalities of that is not what you came here for. Earthbound is a really funny fucking series. It's cute, it's quirky, it's funny, it's got kick-ass music, and you play as this like little kid. And I've always enjoyed games where like you're a kid and you get powers and you just, or you don't even get powers, but you just leave. Like Pokemon, for example, it's just like, oh, you're gonna drop out of school and train dogs and fight dogs. All right, see you later. And like Earthbound is one of those where you get kind of looped into this like interdimensional time travel space plot of this like unknowable eldritch force is going to destroy the world. And so it's just like, hey, this kid's got psychic powers, so let's tell him that the world's coming to an end and see how many of his neighborhood grown-ups he can beat up. Because like essentially in that game, like the animals, inanimate objects, and adults in the game are like slowly being possessed by this evil force, Gigas. And so like you'll just be walking through town, you'll get attacked by a fucking taxi cab. Like a taxi cab will come to life and be like, oh, taxi cab wants to battle. And like, or like you'll go to the police office and it's just like, hey, there's like wacky shit going on, we need an adult. And then all the police gang up on you and try to kill you. Like Earthbound to me feels like a comedy version of a Stephen King movie. Like it's really right there in theme, and it's just fucking delightful, and it's inspired a lot of games since then. And one thing that I'm tickled shitless that you're here for, Ian, is that when I played Mother 3, which would technically be Earthbound 2, for some reason nothing else seemed right to me than to name all of the characters that you could name in the game after Ian's entire family.
Yeah, no, I almost said earlier when you said you play as a little kid, I was like, you play as me. What are you talking about?
In Earthbound, you play as Ness, and you can rename it, and it asks you what his name is, it asks you what all your friends' names are, and it asks you what your favorite thing is. Because PK Rockin' is the default thing. It's your favorite thing is Rockin', so like your superpower, PK Rockin'. And mine was like, because I put game, not realizing it, it was like PK game, and I was like, really fucking weird. And then, you know, you play Mother 3, and if you're not paying attention, you might fuck up and wind up in a situation like where I was, where a transgender space alien lures you into a hot tub and teaches you PK sex, because that's exactly how that went down for me, and I had forgotten that I had put sex as my favorite thing, so it was a little strange, but
Accurate.
So in Mother 3, you've got these two brothers, Lucas and Klaus, and it's like, okay, so this is the older brother, and this is the younger, slightly more sensitive brother, and I was like, all right, well, that's Retnian, and it's like, okay, this is their mom, and I named their mom after their mom's name. It's like, this is their cowboy dad. And it's like, wow, this is fucking perfect. Their dad is either a cowboy or a mob boss, maybe both.
Well, not both, yeah.
And this is their dog. Oh, they've got a dog. Cool, I can name their dog after this, whatever. And as soon as you're done naming characters, it's just like, mom has died.
Wow, I don't think I ever really realized that.
Yeah, I don't remember this episode of Cat Dog, but Earthbound is one of the games I've tried several times. I've tried to play that game at least 3 different times, each time getting a little further than the last, but I cannot get into it. Like, it's just a little too fucking goofy for me. Like, I can't take it seriously. I mean, it doesn't take itself seriously, but like, I just can't play it. Like, I get the appeal of it, but I can't do it.
I ate a cracker, so I think I'm going to chew it for real quick.
Well, I don't think you have a choice.
That's a challenge, Jesse. Swallow that shit.
Earthbound's delightful. Earthbound made me cry. And, you know, typically when I say a game made me cry, it's not because something sad happened, it's because something inspirational happened. And Earthbound's a really old game that I don't think many of you would mind spoilers for. But it's one of the best uses of the what is your name feature, because it asks you for your character's name, and then it stops in the middle of the fucking game. And it goes, hey, you. No, not you, holding the controller, you. It's like, what's your name? And so I typed in my full name instead of just Jesse. There's a part later in the game where, like, you're just completely overwhelmed by this, like, eldritch force you're trying to fight. And one of your characters has had a move that's been basically completely worthless the entire time called Prey. And normally it does, like, a bunch of random effects that don't really always help. But when you do Prey in that sequence of the game, it kind of fades out to different people you've met through the game. And it says, you know, for whatever reason, this person thought of Jesse and his friend and got worried about him and began to pray. And then it's like, Gigas has taken so much damage, and it keeps going up and on and going up. And then finally, at the end, it's like, and then gives you your full player name. This person who has never met these people before suddenly got a little bit worried and began to pray. And it's not really necessarily like a religious message, but it fucking blew my goddamn little baby brain. Like, I wasn't even like a kid when I played it, because I'm one of many of these people that hadn't even heard of Earthbound until Ness appeared in the N64 game of Super Smash Brothers. So I actually played Earthbound to completion on an emulator on my PSP. But fucking
that's still powerful shit, though. I mean,
still some fucking, oh my god, what a delightful little game. And something I'm tickled about that I think Chase reminded me of recently is there was a fan developer that was making a Mother 4 that's just fucking renamed it, and they're just gonna put it out as a real game. Fuck it. Like,
it actually looks really good.
It looks fucking dope.
Like, they put some fucking hard work into that shit, and you can really tell.
Yeah, it looks really good. So I will be playing that. My next one's Pokemon Gold. I chose to go with original Gold instead of Heart Gold, and I was asked earlier why did I go with original instead of Heart Gold, and it's just pure nostalgia. I loved them both, you know. But I think that the original Pokemon series has really flavored my aesthetic for what I like artistically. I think Ken, is his name Ken Kutaragi? I think that's what it is.
Ken Sugimori.
Ken Sugimori. Okay. Ken Sugimori's art style, his like watercolor art style, is just fucking flawless for me. It's really hard to beat. And I used to flip through those manuals all the time and just stare at those characters. And I think that that's really kind of been coded into what I appreciate in game design now. And plus, like, it's weird because I don't know if it ever explicitly stated this, but Gold version kind of felt like a game that took place in the future. Like, you know, you played Pokemon Red, Pokemon Blue, and then Gold kind of introduces all these like techie things, and it felt like a real leap. And then you continue playing the franchise, and it's just like, oh, that's just one aesthetic that they went with. I don't know if any game will really be able to impress me the way that it impressed that young mind. And I won't go into it too deep because we ranted about this forever in our Pokemon podcast a while back. I've really been more excited than anything to talk about about City of Heroes. I almost didn't put this on my list because I don't think about City of Heroes often, but I was sitting here going, if we're a cooperative multiplayer channel, I do need to make it a point to mention the games that really influenced me in terms of like cooperative multiplayer with friends. And City of Heroes, even though I didn't get to play it that much, is like a tremendous unifying experience between me and Chase, because this is a game that I wasn't able to get to run on my computer, and so I lent it to Chase, and Chase managed to get it to run on his computer, and together we made a couple of fucking meme-worthy characters that we'll never be able to forget.
Absolutely never.
Chase
and mine was a complete fluke. It is the best character I've ever made in my life.
And I had forgotten, and Ian's was a fucking copyright infringement.
Yeah. I made Nightwing Beyond. It was essentially Batman Beyond, but Nightwing, and he got generic heroed.
Yeah, they renamed his character Generic Hero and a string of.
It was like hero number 76432 or something like that. And they gave me like a free rename, but like fuck.
Nightman Beyond.
Well, I mean, like fucking Champions, I've straight up got Scarlet Spider as one of my characters. They haven't done shit about that.
Yeah, whenever I was trying to give DC Universe Online a chance, one of the things that actually made me kind of interested in playing it was I made a character that looked a lot like Spider-Man. So I was like, I'm just going to play Spider-Man if he got like transported to the DC Universe. I feel like I would really enjoy that and enjoy trying to imagine what would Spider-Man do in this situation, and like Spider-Man training under Batman and shit like that. But the name that I got for him was the Spider Menace. But it was pretty cool. Chase's Space Cowboy Ninja has just been like a permanent staple in our mind of like fan headcanoned characters among us. We've got a lot of even the shit that like we haven't really role played out. We've got a lot of just like headcanon stories for all of them. Chase insists on suggesting that every robotic looking character I've ever played is one that he made. It is not the truth, but I had a character named Cyber X who Xeno 6 is actually based on. I wanted to try to make Cyber X in a way that didn't sound like cyber sex anymore, and I failed. And City of Heroes is just this delightful little fucking superhero game that I wanted to make mention of today because I am seriously considering playing it again. I checked on the fan servers that got announced last year, and they're still up. And when they first launched, they had 100,000 players, and I don't know how many they have right now, but I am interested in finding out.
Let's do it. Let's all start playing City Heroes.
Oh, you don't want to?
I've seen I've seen the inside of that one cave and that one building, and that's all that game has.
Yeah. Much like what Chase discussed with Phantasy Star Online, it's a lot of repetitive zones. And that was really what was killing it for us when we were playing. But I think the wonder of a lot of the games that we've mentioned today have been the games that are a little bigger than we realized. There were a lot of moments in that game where it's just like, God damn, there's so much shit here that I didn't really expect. Like, the premise of City of Heroes is like this city is where superheroes are encouraged to move to and like serve in because it's like so riddled with crazy ass crime that they've had to like quarter it off with like force fields, which to me, nuke it. Like, what are you doing? Like, this is
and like even if you didn't nuke it, like I feel like this would be fixed in a week, month tops. Like, we got some pretty rad ass heroes running around this place. Whatever.
It's
like,
funny.
why would the villains not just be like, hey, shit's getting a little harder, let's like go to New York or something?
Yeah, let's
take all the villains and push them over there.
Let's just go fuck up Cleveland, man. They won't know. They won't expect it. Like, it's so funny to me because it's like the Paragon City is like a parody version of what we've all joked about Gotham being, because it's just like, if Gotham's anything like it is in the comics, who would live there? Like, who would willingly stay?
Well, I mean, that's basically Chicago. Isn't it?
I've not been.
Or Detroit? Yeah.
I've not been, so I don't know if there are like toxic attacks every day or anything like that. All right, next up on my list is one that we have discussed multiple times, but I was saving my critique for now. So when we talk about games like Halo Reach and Halo 3 and stuff like that, I nearly didn't even put the Halo Reach cover as my image. I nearly put a screenshot of the Halo Reach multiplayer browser as my image, because while I love Halo Reach, the single player game, I don't necessarily know that I love the single player game more than I do Halo 3 or like the overall experience of the Halo campaign stuff. But as far as like the multiplayer experiences that shaped me, I will never get closer to heaven than playing Halo Reach with my bros late at night, every night in a row for like months. Like, that was just a glorious time for me. And you wouldn't know it because I was a real bitch. Like, I was constantly raging and like shouting at myself and making it to where like nobody really wanted to play with me. And it's back to what I talked about earlier. I often feel learning disabled when it comes to games, and I just wasn't improving. And, you know, now that it's out on PC and like the controls are really tight and I can play mouse and keyboard, I have a little bit more fun with it. But Halo has been a real unifying force for our friends. And I've mentioned it before. I mentioned it in the first podcast of this particular series that the first time that I really fell in love with my friends group and realized I was going to be friends with them for a long time was walking into the big ass shed and just seeing Halo 1 just projected onto the fucking back wall of the storm shed while the orchestral opening from Halo is being boomed out of these enormous ass speakers. What a bunch of fucking gamer hillbillies. Like, I love it. I fucking love it. And it's a real contrast to go from that to No Man's Sky, which I'm sure a lot of people are just like, wait, that's one of your favorite games of all time. You've only been playing it for a little while. But I've heard multiple other people...
Boo disagrees. Fuck that game.
I've just heard so many other people bring up their hours, like their playtime. And I very rarely rack up a tremendous playtime in a game. And making this chart, I've realized that a lot of the games that I've racked up a tremendous playtime in aren't games that I played on Steam. So I can't even really go and look at them like that. But in the short time that I've had No Man's Sky, even though I can partially justify my playing it as me trying to get ready for the next stream, I am already approaching my other top games on my list of games that I've played. I already have like 60 hours in it. I only have like 120 hours in Starbound. And I'm just thoroughly enjoying it, and I'm tickled shitless that I didn't play it until now so that I couldn't get disillusioned by how bad it was.
That's kind of where I'm at. I've not played it yet, but I really want to play it now.
It's been going on sale a lot lately. A lot of our fans bought it whenever it went on sale on our store, and it's went a little bit lower since then.
But yeah, I just I'm really interested in it. I like you. I'm glad I didn't play it before now because I would probably hated it. But now I'm really excited that they fixed everything. You know,
well, I'll give you an example too. A lot of the things that we've not enjoyed about the game so far are just simply things that we didn't really understand how they worked. Like, for example, the game's inventory system is a little bit convoluted. Like the first time you open up your inventory menu, it makes you want to slit your own throat. Like it's
a trash fire.
You have to unlock your inventory slots, and they're not even distributed in a way that makes sense. Like the ones that are already unlocked are just kind of scattered across your grid. So like it's almost like it's designed to give you an aneurysm the moment that you look at it for the first time. But once you've realized what you have to do to upgrade your inventory and get materials and stuff like that, it's not hard. It's actually kind of mind-numbingly easy. Like I think that there will honestly get to a point, if Chase continues to play it with me, that he will have the opposite attitude of what he had before, where before it's like it's too hard to make money, and then it'll be like, well, it's way too fucking easy to make money. And it's simply because the game tries to teach you how to play itself, but it doesn't do a great job. And I contribute that to the fact that even though it's not an early access game, it might as well be, because they're still adding stuff to it that's finally rounding out the experience. I'll give an example. So as I've been looking up guides on how to do certain things in the game, some of the guides will have things that are not in the game at all anymore. Like I was looking up guides about like one of the things that you can build on your base in order to spawn stuff later on. And the guide that I watched was like, okay, you're going to want to go to your NPC crew in your base. And once you've got so many of those, you can build these things. And I was like, that is not how it works anymore. It doesn't make you do any of that shit. It's way simpler than that now. And I'm thankful for it because, you know, if I like the freedom of being able to do it, have my sort of mental RP experience one way or the other. So if I want to live on a moon by myself, God damn it, I'm gonna. And so I'm glad that it didn't force me to have like these little crew people running around in my base just to be able to build something. But you know, I love the aesthetic of No Man's Sky. I have been waiting for a game to have this concept for a long time, and I hope that them buckling down and really trying to make it the game we wanted won't necessarily even result in the game we expected, but will inspire more games to meet that challenge. Like for example, we've talked about this multiple times before, Star Citizen is in danger of being the same meme. So
That game's
Sorry.
never coming out.
Yeah, no, I don't give a shit about Star Citizen anymore.
I still want to play Star Citizen. I have played Star Citizen. I have played whenever the early access only open to backers, whatever, was open to everyone for like a temporary amount of time. And while it was buggy because it's still being developed, it was fucking cool. You couldn't.
I play that too.
Yeah, I think you did. You couldn't land on planets in that, but they're working on that too. And I think that's going to be a good game. Because that game is meant to be a really huge RP, choose what you want to do experience. Like if you want to play it like a first-person shooter, you can. If you want to play it like a trader, you can. If you want to play it like an RPG, you can. And I really hope that they deliver on that. And if they don't, and if they at least deliver a game as good as No Man's Sky is now, I will be disappointed, but I'll still have fun with it. So I'm
Man,
enjoying.
after all the money they've raised, isn't it like a ridiculous amount?
Oh, they could start their own company, or sorry, I meant to say country. They could start their own country with the money they've raised.
Well, if after all that fucking money they've raised, it's only as good as No Man's Sky took like 6 years to get to, then they suck.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but they do.
I hear that. I do. But you know, I just knew I had to recognize how much I've played this game lately and how much I've enjoyed it. And that's kind of what got me thinking about the next slot on here. If you happened to tune in to the discussion in the days prior to this podcast, you will already know that my ninth slot did belong to a porn game. And I am not going to sit here and tell you that it is not worthy of my praise, because it is. I have mentioned this game multiple times, partially as a joke and partly to be real. I will never not mention Witch Trainer because it ruined my goddamn life. You know, when you think about games that you want to put on your top 10 lists, like I said before, you often go to the games that you've put the most hours into. And I lost days of my life to this stupid fucking masturbatory tool because it's just so well produced. But in that same vein, I do want to talk about a different game that took a lot of my time instead. Because if I gave No Man's Sky my 8th slot because I've already got 60 hours in it in the last few days I've played it, I've got to mention Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, because that is the first game that really transported me to another world and kept me there for months at a time. I didn't really enjoy Skyrim as much as I think everybody else in the world did. I really liked Skyrim. But Elder Scrolls 4 was the first game that I legitimately felt like I was getting an escape from my own reality. And it was at a time when I really needed it, too, because it was my first year in college. I was really isolated and kind of confused at what direction my life was going. And I was able to just kind of hide in my room and play that video game for hours on end. And I would essentially like come home from school, go to Cyrodiil, and that's where I'd live. And then I'd go to bed. And I'd wake up in the morning, go to school, come home, go to Cyrodiil, go to bed. And, you know, if I were to go back and play that game now, which I've really wanted to lately, but if I were to go back and play that game now, I'm not sure that I'd like it. You know, like the color palette of it was so saccharine and oversaturated. Like, and I don't necessarily think that Skyrim's a whole lot better. It's like the saturation's turned into the opposite direction. it's like all grayed out and shit like that. But I hope that one day we get an actual upgrade to that experience, because while Skyrim looks better, it's clearly just the same engine, you know, replayed. But yeah, that's the game that I want to put in my 9th slot. And while I think many of you would love to hear me wax poetic about a game where you mind break Hermione Granger into doing sexual favors for you, I think that I have to give that my 10th slot instead of my 9th.
God damn it. See, you act like you don't have enough free time to get these armors and shit you need for Velkhana, but then you play No Man's Sky for like 80 hours a day.
I'll tell you, though, that got started because I was trying to help you, because you were like, I'm not going to be able to play this game with you if it's going to be like this. And now that I tell you you're not going to have any trouble, you're still like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to play this.
Hey, I could fix it with mods, which I still fully intend to do. So, like, you don't have to do shit if you don't want to.
I'm enjoying it. That's all there is to it. I'm enjoying it. Also, like, it's no secret, and this is not meant to be a bummer to anybody. I hope everybody in our community feels comfortable talking about their own mental health. It's been no secret that I've been experiencing a lot of bouts of depression lately, so I'm just thankful that something is able to give me joy, you know. I don't get a lot of the same joy playing Monster Hunter, and I don't know why, but I am definitely going to try a different weapon. I think that trying different weapons is a big missing piece of the puzzle for me, because most people do try the other weapons.
Think it is too.
Well, our podcast tonight has already gone on for 2 hours. And originally, I wanted to mention people's statements in the Discord about this topic. So I think we could really quickly go through there and make acknowledgement of that, since we did incite those conversations.
Start cranking them out, funny boy. I gotta eat.
Mayo showed his off, and Mayo's collage was a lot of different indie games, with the exception of Bloodborne and Zelda. And a lot of them were games that I've played, not necessarily games I've enjoyed. For example, he has Minute in his number 1 slot, and that's a game where you die after every 60 seconds and you're slowly solving a little mystery. That was a really cool game.
Yeah, I had not heard of like half his games.
Hyper Light Drifter is one I tried but didn't like. And Baba Is You, I think, is a game that I turned him on to because I streamed that one day. Baba Is You is a delightful little grammar game, and I know that sounds really unfun, but I promise it's fun. Julius here has posted Don't Starve, which is definitely my wife's favorite game right now. She plays it nonstop over and over and over again. And we finally got to the point to where we can play that together without her wanting to murder me, but it requires mods to completely change up the difficulty of the game. Hat in Time is delightful, and Chase, you still need to play that. Salt and Sanctuary is a game you've played. I haven't played that, though.
That's good. I haven't beat it, but I do like it.
Hollow Knight's a game that I owned but refunded. I do like it, but I just didn't see myself finishing it. And I know several of you guys have played that. I know Rhett enjoys it quite a bit.
Yeah, I haven't beat it either, but it is very good.
Artemis had Destiny 1 and 2 in there. Those are both games. Those are both games I love in concept, not exactly in practice. But I am trying to play more Destiny 2 lately. No Man's Sky is actually in Artemis's top, so at least I'm not alone in that. Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, a game that I honestly should give a chance, but still haven't.
It's good.
Couldn't get into it.
I nearly put Minecraft in my 3x3 just because of how many hours I spent on it and how we've still kind of off and on been playing it. I didn't put Starbound in my 3x3, even though obviously it has a special place for all of us, because I just don't consider it one of my top 10. It's really
it would never make any top favorite game of mine ever. Like, I like Starbound. I've had fun playing it for the channel and stuff, but like it's by no means one of my favorite games. I would pick Terraria over that game any day of the week.
Yeah. Let's see. Crab Doodles has D&D as one of his, which is cheating.
Yeah, I seen that. I was like, I wonder if he means one of the D&D games that came out are just D&D.
Like, I'm not trying to be a dickhead. You're not fucking in trouble, Crab. I'm not gonna spank you on your little hands. But
wow, that got weird as fuck.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Jesse, leave that in. I feel like it's hard to beat an entire tabletop engine whenever you're ranking other games. Crab also has Cave Story on here, which I love.
That's the one me and you played, right?
Yeah, didn't you like it?
Yeah. I actually really like that game. I think that game's pretty.
Would you beat it with me, or would you want to play it up by yourself?
Yeah, I'd play it again. Definitely.
Fuck yeah,
I wish it had online. It doesn't, right? Like,
only the Switch version has co-op, and it's only couch co-op. That's why I made it a point to try to play it that day, because we were both together.
Yeah, it was fun. I did like it.
My dude Mort's got Morrowind and Oblivion on there. I never did play Morrowind. You talked a little bit about having not played Morrowind.
Morrowind's amazing.
Yeah, I like I told him in that channel. I played Morrowind the way a younger child would play GTA. Yeah. Like, I just sort of booted it up and ran around and fucked around. I never did quests, and I would boot it up and go see what all I could steal from people, who all I could manage to kill and like take over their house. Like, it was just chaotic play for me. Like, I never really played the story, but I would like to now.
My biggest thing about going back and playing Morrowind is the combat in Morrowind was
it's
pretty
awful.
bad.
Yeah, like that's one reason I always fucked around with like cheats and stuff, is because like you couldn't hit anything in that game. I forget how it works. It's basically like an older D&D system.
Yeah, like you were swinging and swinging and swinging and swinging, and then he'd hit. Yeah,
it was awful.
Soupman has provided a thumbnail from a Bro Op Starbound video. It's just a picture.
Yes, Pace Dicks.
It does say
my
Pace
favorite
Dick.
game.
Bro Op presents Pace Dick. Oh, fuck. But yeah, and then after that, we got to a long ass conversation about my sister. So that's
yeah, that was funny.
So yeah. I'm gonna reiterate what I said as this was unfolding. This has been really enjoyable for me to kind of take a peek into the portfolio of your game interests, because I will admit that earlier on in my Bro Op career, I have often been like, man, like, our fans don't really like the same kinds of games at us at all. But that's not really true. It's just our Venn diagrams cross in places that we hadn't realized. Like, for example, when Halo Master Chief Collection was hitting PC, I didn't expect any of our fans to be interested. And lo and behold, several are. And I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, I'm shocked at how many of them like it and play it.
Yeah.
I'm thankful, big time, but I am shocked.
Yeah. Mayo, we are going to do more Reach. I think we're going to do Halo 1 for this upcoming community game. But I want to make sure that everybody's able to be included. And I know several people got Halo Reach by itself for community stuff. So we will find a way to make sure everybody has a good time. But we are probably going to play some Halo 1. With that said, I think we're winding to a close. Anybody got anything they want to say?
I do like Meat and Fuck Subway Stories. That's a good game.
Meat and Fuck Subway Stories.
Yeah.
That sounds like something you'd play. Imagine working for your porn. Like, come on, go to porn.
Don't even get me started, because I will gladly explain this. But we're already at like 2.5 hours. They haven't paid for this bonus shit from me.
It's more rewarding, right?
You're going to get another separate podcast about how satisfying it is to... A lot of this isn't going in. I can go ahead and tell you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Ian, for coming out.
You're welcome.
Ian is on loan from his other channel. It's called...
Pornhub.
It's called pornhub.com/
Pornhub.
Pornhub.com/Pornhub. Ian's the face of Pornhub.
I'm a lot more than the face, let me tell you.